Do you want Fia's Mist, or maybe you want Death Lightning for your PvP needs? Well, to do that, you're gonna have to fight Lich Dragon Fortissax. But before we can get there, we're gonna have to talk to Fia to begin her quest line. So what she's gonna ask you to do, and you have to go past Hugh. What she's gonna ask you to do is, do you want to hug me? And of course, we say yes, we do want to hug you, my lady, because look at her boy over here. He hasn't seen a lady. He's been maidenless for quite some time. So basically, we're gonna hug the lady. We're gonna absolve all of her childhood trauma into her, arms. And after we do that, we're gonna be shameless. And we're gonna actually ask for another hug, because she's gonna give us Baldashin's blessing. Now, if you guys don't know, you can consume this, and it'll get rid of the debuff you get from hugging her. So the debuff makes it so that you actually take more damage. I don't really like that, so I would recommend using Baldashin's blessing after doing this stuff. But basically, once you do it again, she's going to want to be hugged again. You're going to talk to her in secret at this point. And the secret is that she hates D and wants to kill him. So we're going to talk in secret, and in order to do this, you have to have already hit Altus Plateau. We will have to have two pieces completed, having hit Altus Plateau and having gotten this from Ronnie in the quest line. So check out my guide for Ronnie's quest if you haven't hit this yet. But basically, after talking to her and getting this statue, we're going to talk to Fia and we're going to hug her. She's going to give us the Weathered Dagger. So we're going to give the Weathered Dagger to D, at which point we're going to leave the area and reload Roundtable Hold. And once we've done that, we're going to actually see this room over here open up past Hugh. And this is where you can actually get his bell bearing, so don't worry if he dies, you can still get his spells, and you can get his armor set as well. So once you have him killed, you're going to talk to Fia, until she says her little dialogue. And from here, we actually have to go to Carrion Study Hall. That's why we have to complete Ronnie's quest, so that we can get that statue, and then we can actually enter Carrion Study Hall. Because you can enter it without the statue, but if you don't have the statue, you can't actually ascend, or I guess in this case, descend the tower because it flips. So we're going to go straight to Carrion Study Hall, which is in Liurnia of the Lakes, for our next clip. Okay, so we've entered Carrion Study Hall, and we're going to want to jump down here. Be careful not to fall through that hole, because I have definitely at least 4 times when recording this footage. But these hand guys should be no trouble, especially at this point. This guy, if he probably was, if you found him early before you even did the quest, he might have been a struggle, but as you can see, he's already dead before he's teleported once. And when I fought him, the first time or whatever, he was going through the whole thing. He was going, I had to chase him around basically as I was progressing the area. But once you get to this point, there's these chandeliers you're going to want to jump down on. And so we're going to loot these little items real quick, some smithing stones, twos. But after that, okay, Lord's Horn Sword, that sucks. Anyway, so jump down the chandeliers. And once you have gotten to this second one, it just drop where I drop. It doesn't really matter. As long as you drop on these beams, just don't drop to your death. And then from this point, there's a glintstone butterfly, but you can just drop from there. Now after going down the elevator, head straight to this door. And we're going to be on the bridge where we meet the Godskin Noble. So after defeating him, we're actually here for the Curse Mark of Death, but we're going to kill him anyway while we're here, because this is how you get his armor set. If you've killed him in other locations, you get his weapon, but you actually get his armor set here. So if you want to be a big beefy boy, definitely do this. But you could just run past him if you wanted to. And then we're going to head to the end of this bridge, and we're gonna open the door and head up the tower. At the top of this tower is the Curse Mark of Death and the Stargazer's Heirloom, which gives a 5-point increase in intelligence. But from here, we need to get to Deep Root Depths. Now, this will require you having gotten past Nokra and Eternal City, and then we're gonna go into Siofra Riverwell. And once you hit the Hallowhorn grounds, you're actually going to follow the path that I take from the entrance to the right. And you know you'll be on the right path when you see the jellyfish. So just stay to the right, hug this cliff, be careful not to fall off until you pass all of the jellyfish. And from here we can actually drop down. So this is a secret area, or a semi-secret area. If you do the quests like you're doing now, you're going to come across them. But basically, we're just going to go here until we see the next bonfire. Now this is a cool location because there are some Crucible Knights that you can fight. So if you wanted the Tree Sentinel's weapon, you could actually get that from this Tree Sentinel that's going to be coming up. And that Crucible Knight on the bridge actually drops his shield. So follow along the path until you drop down here, and then head left to avoid the Crucible Knight, but I go right first so we actually kill him. And so this is the Crucible Knight that gives us the shield. So after defeating him, we'll have the shield. And then there's also a missionary cookbook here that he's guarding. So after that, head left from the drop point, which is down, just straight basically from here after killing the Crucible Knight. And we are going to come across another Crucible Knight actually. And this one is the Tree Sentinel version. I personally would recommend just running past him because all he drops is a Smithing Stone 6. But, if you want to know where he's at, he's right here. Be careful for that one attack because it has more range than it seems like it does. Okay, so now we're going to head to the right. And the reason why there's a spell here, for those of you that like Sacred Order spells, it's called Order Healing. So you're going to just go through this right door, and you're going to go down. And once you kill this Scarab Beetle, you will actually have it. Okay, so we got that, and there's also a Golden Rune 7 right around the corner on the back side. But that's all that's in this area, so you're going to want to head back up the stairs from whence we came. And we're going to stay straight and to the right. And this is actually where we meet Dee's brother. And because we killed Dee, we're doing her quest line. We can actually talk to him and we get a special emote if we hand over the Twin Knight set. So that's the choices. You keep Dee's armor for Fia's quest, or you give it to him for Inner Order, which is what you've seen me do in a couple of my clips. But basically, from here we fight the Valiant Gargoyle. I recommend getting your buddies for this fight just because it is a double boss. If you are fast enough at taking out the first gargoyle, it makes the fight significantly easier. Also, I was able to summon Dee for this fight because once you give the armor set back to his brother, it actually allows him to be summonable. So that is the one caveat to giving the armor back if you're struggling with this fight. But personally, I'm more Fashion Souls. If I didn't have other characters with the set, I wouldn't have done it. But I think his armor is pretty cool, to be honest. Now, this fight's not as bad as it might seem, because usually the one in the background when they're both fighting, will like try to cast poison versus just like all out attack you at the same time. But sometimes they do, so you can't bank on that strategy. You definitely would be better off getting one knocked out or close to knocked out before the other drops down off the cliff. I'm not really sure why I did that one, but you'll see once we take down this first gargoyle, the other one melts. Even though I definitely melt in this fight too. Yeah, it was a close fight. This fight's definitely for some of the, OGs that played the original Dark Souls. I personally didn't want to do, like, real friends. I was okay with, like, a NPC summon. Just because I wanted that Ornstein and Smo feel. If I really wanted the Ornstein and Smo feel, I would have whipped out the Zweihander and no armor. But, we grow and sometimes we're lazy, which means we utilize the lightning spear too much. Of course people want to park right outside the window when I'm recording a video, but it is what it is. Alright, so we've taken out the Valiant Gargoyles, and you get the Gargoyle's Greatsword. So we're going to do our new fancy schmancy emote, and then hit the bonfire in this area. Now, a lot of people just leave this area, but this is where you get to Deep Root Depths. So after you've rested at the bonfire, you're going to want to go ahead and run to this coffin and press Y, which is going to initiate this really cool elevator cutscene. And then, yeah, you can skip it if you want, but whatever. So, light that bonfire, and we're going to attempt to fight the Putrid Tree Avatar. I do mean attempt, because this guy is stronger than the other versions, as you can see by me dying here. So, fight him, don't fight him, doesn't really matter. Really just depends. I think you can get his actual weapon if you fight this one. It's his versus souls, so he's worth killing. But instead of doing all that jazz, follow this route all the way. You gotta jump onto another route. It's insane horse parkour. It's kind of fun, but it's also kind of annoying. So you're gonna go to the northeast to that bonfire. Then you're gonna head through these routes in this river path. And we are in the courtyard. At this point, you want to go here just to get that map. And if you want the vacuum slice weapon art, it's pretty cool. It's worth getting. So go into that cathedral, leave the cathedral, head to the right, and you'll see that scarab beetle. And then once you've killed the scarab beetle, head under the route to the left and towards the the northwest, northeast. Anyway, hit this bonfire, and there's a graveyard here that has some runes. So if you want like some golden 8 runes, and I think it has a smithing stone 4. Yes, smithing stone 4. So it's got a couple cool things. But basically, head off the cliff from here, grab the ghost glowwort 6, and then use your spirit horsey right on this jump path. At which point, we're going to fight a Crucible Treeknight. And this knight is worth killing just because you can actually get his armor and his weapon if you do this boss fight. So he's definitely tankier than the, overworld ones, but it is what it is. He's not that bad with range. We dispatch him very quickly with the lightning spear. So we got his weapon from killing him. We're going to pop and get that ghost glowwort 7. But if you go behind him to this chest, this is where you get his armor set. So at this point, we're going to leave and head back to that area from the first bonfire, and you'll know you're in the right place when you see the parkour on top of these churches. So we're going to head up the route, and we are going to take the left path for now, because this is how you get the Prince of Death's staff. But once you ascend that first church onto the route, you're going to want to take the right path in order to get to the next boss that we have to do. So get the Prince of Death's staff if you're running like Deathblight's build, which is the whole point of us coming down here, I guess, would be to get Death Lightning and Fia's Mist. So this is definitely worth it for all Deathblight builds. So once you hit the top of this route, you can just head to the left and jump. I'm pretty sure there's an alternate path, but that's the path I take. So hit this, and then once you have hit the bonfire, we're going to enter the boss room. Now, we do have to fight Fia's champion. It's not that hard. It's kind of a gimmick. Like, it's not a gimmick, but it's 3 invasions. So you kill this first guy, easy peasy. And then the second stage, you're going to have to fight Sorcerer Regier, and he's going to be a little tankier. Or not tankier. He's just going to have, you know, his spells are pretty good. But honestly, all of these guys are weak. They're just, you have to fight them in succession. So we're about to melt Regier after we heal. And you are going to want to heal before the third phase of this fight, simply because it's a one-on-one for phase 1. It's a one-on-one for phase 2. But after we take out Regier, we're going to actually be in phase 3, which requires us to fight 3 people. So we take out Regier, we go ahead and get buffed, heal up. And from here, this is what I mean by gimmick. Like, it's not bad if you have the right tools, because I use AoE specifically for this fight. I don't usually use Lance's Glaive that much in PvP. Like, I like it for farming. It's a great farming tool. But honestly, for real players, they know how to jump over it. I think it can be useful in tight areas, but it's definitely more situational. But the AI doesn't know that, so the AI just gets melted to the AoE effects. So now that we've beaten Fia's champion, in my first playthrough I didn't realize that this wasn't the end. So you get Fia's Mist, at which point Fia's going to be back here if you've done all the steps that we did for the questline. So you're going to talk to her and hug her, or whatever, you know, that's right. Just like when we killed D, we're going to have to reload the area after completing that dialogue, and then we're going to come back to here, and she's going to be laying on the ground, at which point we're going to do the dialogue to enter Fortissax's dream. And this is how you actually fight Lich Dragon Fortissax. So, first things first, when it comes to this guy, his Death Lightning isn't that much of a threat, I don't think. Like, it's not so spammy that it covers the whole battlefield. The main thing with fighting him is that he does shoot up lightning bolts out of the ground. And of course he has this attack that you don't want to get hit by directly. You can just jump over the arc trail, but if you get hit by his spear, this is like the most damaging lightning spear in the game. So if you defeat him, you can get both Death Lightning and Fortissax Lightning Spear. But I would recommend using the Duplicate Remembrance so that you can just get both, because why not? If you're running, you know, they're both scale with Dragon Cult, so it's not like you have to run one or the other. You can run them both. I personally think that this fight was easier than fighting the sister, which is the one that you get Lance's Glaive from. So basically, she has a lot more spammy front head attacks than this guy does. This guy has some AoE spam, like make sure not to get hit by this fire, of course. But again, I think the most difficult thing with him is if you're trying to fight him from in between the legs, you're going to have those arc trails of lightning trying to hit you that you have to time your rolls on. So it limits how long you can hit them. This boss, if it wasn't for such tight attack windows on him, I would say that he's not as tanky as he appears to be in this clip. It's just this fight happens to be long. And he does stuff like that, where you can't hit him at all, and you gotta go run him down again. I like the dragon fights in this game, but I'm not a fan of non-horseback dragon fights in some cases for this reason. Because Placidius, or Placidus, or whatever the hell his name is, who's in Farum Azula, has a similar pattern where he just likes to fly around everywhere. And so, like, I don't know. I feel like the dragons look cool, but in terms of actually fighting these bosses, it can be tedious. I definitely would have hated this fight as pure melee. I can say that for a fact. Without lightning spears for range, I wouldn't have had a good time. So that's what I'm talking about. When you try to hit them from the back legs, those lightning trails will get you, but once you learn the timing pattern, it's not bad. It's just, you can't be super aggressive if that's your playstyle. You gotta do 1-2, back out. Or in that case, just use one attack of the weapon art and then roll. So yeah, I tried to get that second swing instead of just rolling to save myself, and I got hit. And this almost cost me the fight. So, if you have the option, definitely just smack him in the face from range. In terms of his actual effectiveness between Death Lightning and Lightning Spear, I'd say a Lightning Spear hits more often because it's tracking and it has invincibility frames, so you can still get hit, but you know, when you're in the animation, you have increased poise. Death Lightning does not get increased poise, and it takes a long time to cast. So if you see a group of people running you down in PvP, I would then cast Death Lightning just to give you some space, kind of like a smoke screen. But in terms of actually hitting your opponent, the Lightning Spear is a much better option, and it's pretty sure it's the most damage dealing faith spell in the game, so it's worth hitting it when it does hit. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this was helpful and it'll complete your builds, but stay tuned for the next episode.